folks, well, the Leafs rattled off a win versus the Flyers, but then they were absolutely crushed by the Lightning in what was an important head-to-head matchup. We are going to break it all down for you right here on the OZone.
You're in the offensive zone, your place for Leafs hockey.
Okay. Hey folks, welcome to the OZone. That's Coach, that's Katie, and I'm the Diva, and we're here to talk all things Leafs. Listen, before we get started, first and foremost, NHL suffered a huge loss with the passing of the Flower, Guy Lafleur. He'll be forever missed. Let's get into it, fellas. The Leafs are still without Muzzin, Cachet, Matthews. Campbell played versus Philly, but Shelgren played against the Lightning. The Lightning seemed to really lean on the Leafs, and the Leafs didn't really respond. What'd you see in the last couple games, Katie?
Well, at least let's just talk about this last game. We've seen this before with the Leafs not really showing up and not really coming with their A game. And this time they ran into a team wanting to send a message and very motivated to win. Unfortunately, this was a top team, a two-time defending champion. So we saw the answer. It just was men amongst boys. I'm not going to read into it much more than that, but it was just a difficult to watch the lack of pushback. I found it, but we have seen that before. This team can be inconsistent like that. So we'll leave it at that. Not much intensity. Again, the one thing I am starting to worry more and more about is this power play. I know it's ranked first in the league and it's got crazy stats, but they're shooting a little less and a little less. They're getting lots of control. They're looking for that perfect pass. That perfect play will not be available in the playoffs. And I think you really need to set up the shots off the wing from the shot from the point. If you look at all the good power plays, Tampa was doing it that night, and we saw their 91 break the Tampa Bay record. He was open because the shot from the point was dangerous, and we had to cover the shot from the point. We do the Washington Capitals do it with Ovi. He's not the primary shooter. He's usually the guy who scores all the goals, though. So Leafs have to shoot more when they get the opportunity on the power play. They will need to do that in the playoffs, or the power play won't be effective.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I think Matthews probably helps him a bit there, but I think it makes sense. They look like they're going for that perfect pass again. Coach, what have you seen?
You think Matthews might help? Hey, I that was great. We did a moment of silence there for Guy Lafleur. Normally our moments of silence are when I'm trying to think of what to say. So R.I.P. Guy Lafleur, from Leaf fans to Habs fans. That's a tough one, man. All-time great. So last pod, we predicted the Philly game, and I was almost dead nuts on with all of that. I predicted a 5-1 win. It was 5-2. I did say our Swedes were going to stay hot. Nylander was the best player on the ice. He had two points, should have maybe 3. Liljegren scored. Engvall had an assist. I did say Campbell would play and keep rolling, and he did play, and he was excellent.
He was good.
I said Spezza would get a couple points. He got one, but then he got one against Tampa too. So I was close. Here's the thing I was right about that I wish I wasn't. So I did call that Matthews would miss that next game. That would be 3 in a row. That he would miss Philly, and he did. And the reason I had so much angst with him being out that one game is it just doesn't feel right. It's just precautionary. We've heard that before, guys. Now it's 3 games he's been out, and we need that guy. We're talking about how to compete against teams like Tampa. We need Matthews. Yeah. We do. And he was out against Tampa too. And I'm not saying that's the only reason, but man, we were outclassed against Tampa. Yeah. I'm not too worried about it either, Kev, because as a coach, you're always looking for a rallying cry. It sure looks like we're going to end up playing Tampa in the first round. There's none better than the way we left the season series with Tampa, just getting blown out in that game. And we got pushed around all night, not necessarily hits. Hits were, Tampa had a bit of an edge in hits, but just orneriness. It wasn't really physical. It was just pushing around at every moment. not just after the whistle with face washes and stuff, which they definitely made a point of doing, but also trash talking too. So I watched the game on ESPN. I didn't get the Canadian feed for this one. And ESPN had a reporter in between the benches, Leah Hextall. And they showed this. Here's a picture of this. Trash talking, mostly Pat Maroon with Simmons and with Clifford. Corey Perry chirped in. It was so much that they put it in a little box at the bottom of the screen as the play's going on. They're chirping continuously. And you can hear some of it, and you could definitely lip read. And the word that kept coming up from the Tampa guys was soft. You're soft. You guys are soft. She even asked Simmons about it. He was the second intermission guest. She asked him if he was soft. Okay, that's crazy. She doesn't know what she's talking about. But, I mean, they kept repeating it. And then, Maroon, he had 3 cups. Anyway, that's obviously a rallying cry for Tampa. Leafs are going to have to get over that somehow. So that was a tough one, guys.
Yeah. Oh, it's true. Look, I had a great night for the Philly game. I was at the game. Here's a couple snaps here. And I want to thank my buddy Chris for taking me. But I have to say, after that Tampa game, my angst meter went way up, to use a coachism. I know Matthews, Campbell, Muzzin, Cache weren't in the lineup. And it was just one game. And maybe you got some, you got some material for coaching to get the team up for the inevitable series. But I got to say, the way the Leafs were beaten, and I don't mean goals, it was an 8-1 game. I mean just the physicality. They were manhandled and dominated, and they had no response. There was a really interesting article that came out this week in The Athletic for those subscribers of ours that subscribe to it. It was called "Examining Heavy Hockey Trend and Whether It's the Only Path to the Stanley Cup." And we discussed it here at the OZone quite a bit. And the main takeaway of this is that the trend has seemingly shown that size and physicality really seem to pay off in the playoffs. I know everyone sort of knows that, but this sort of ran a bit of a statistical analysis, this article. I think the article probably spent a little bit too much time on players like Mitch Marner and Johnny Gaudreau, but the gist of it was that you got to be big and physical in the playoffs, or you don't really have a chance. And if they look at the last few Cup winners, Tampa Bay a few times, Washington, St. Louis, LA, you have to go back to when the Blackhawks and the Penguins were winning, when you see sort of smaller, less feisty teams winning. And that's really the category that Toronto fits in right now. This is a graph that sort of plots teams on a feisty or physical side and a size and being large. And you see here, Leafs are really in that small passive quadrant right here. And Tampa sits over here, heavy but passive. But what we saw in the game against Tampa, they certainly weren't playing that passive. They were feisty and physical. So what I want to say, or what I want to ask you guys to maybe discuss is, can the Leafs compete, and how? Coach?
Before I get into this, so Chris took you to the game. Hey, Chris, how about hooking the coach up in the playoffs, round 1? Come on, buddy. Some thoughts on this chart. If we put it back up here, for one thing that sticks out, Pittsburgh. They're the smallest and most passive. They're in the bottom left there. That's run by Brian Burke, right? Where's the truculence?
Yeah.
But Pittsburgh is always a good team. So, maybe you can win a lot of ways. The other thing that stands out here, Calgary. Like when I look at that red C that with the flame, I think of John Hockey, and he's the tiniest little guy, like a monkey. But that's not their identity, is it? The rest of that team, because their coach's identity is, back from the lineage of the King Stanley Cup, and he always plays big and tough. They're going to be a tough out, Calgary. But okay, but your question is, how do the Leafs win, right? Well, yes, the game tightens up. Yes, each shift is fought very hard, and you do need to be physical. But here's the thing. We can't wave a magic wand and get more physical now. Like, the team is what it is. So can you succeed with the current roster? Well, look, yes, if we're skating. So if we're skating and we're the fast team and we have the puck and we're aggressive, we're going downhill, teams have not been able to keep up. Let me give you some examples. That Washington game, we blew them out. The game before against Tampa, that was a blowout. Mrs. Coach and I were there. Both Dallas games, the last game against Boston, we're taking it to them and they can't handle it. It's tough to be big and physical when you're chasing the game all the time. But the problem is when we're not skating, it can get ugly. Tampa, that's exhibit A. But also the Nashville game was bad. I mean, my goodness, how have we been against Buffalo and some of the bad teams lately? Like when we're not bringing it, when we're not bringing everything we can do for speed and skill, it's a problem. So can you sustain that in a series? Man, I don't know. Like being big doesn't slump. But speed, you got to make sure you bring. So
Yep.
I don't know how it bears for us, but we know we're the most skilled team in any matchup we have except maybe Florida.
Yep. KD?
Yeah, so it's I think the narrative is probably pretty fair. Like we know this. We've seen it happen and it repeats itself over and over again. But I think this narrative is maybe a little too simplistic. We've seen the Leafs struggle in the past, and we'll call the last series against Montreal as one. And it's the style as well, not just that you're big and heavy. So we'll use the Point versus Marner argument and take a look at Braden Point. And I know Devo is a big fan of Braden Point, and we always wish we loved him. But if you look at stats during the regular season, Marner is superior player. Like it's not even close. Marner actually even out hits Point. So why is Point, who's the same size, actually 2 inches shorter than Marner, why is he better in the playoffs than when we see a smaller guy like Marner play? He's more direct to the net. So we talked about this before, the delay, the cross seam pass, a lot of that movement, the horizontal movement back and forth to create space, it is not available in the playoffs. You have to be direct to the net. You're gonna get pucks towards the net, and you gotta crash. And Point is excellent that way. You watch, he drives the play, and he's always in front of the net. He's always going that way. So it's a smaller league team, a skilled league team. It's one that just has to be more direct to the net if they're going to be successful. And that's really how you get, also add on to Scott, add that extra speed, get to the net faster than the other team, and that's going to be your way to win.
It's like Engvall, Mikheyev, they can do that seemingly at will, but when they want to, right?
Absolutely.
Simmons the same way when he has opportunity, right? I mean, that has been his game his whole career. It's whether or not he can do it at this age.
Yeah, and we've seen Matthews take a huge step this year. We look at the amount of goals he has that are close and right in on the net, and moving forward, like that, man, he looks like he's more playoff ready.
Why you got to bring up Matthews? I was in a good mood.
All right, okay, folks, you know what's coming. This is where we lay it all on the line. Leafs are in Florida versus the Panthers. What's going to happen, KD?
Well, I'm wearing my Fighting Irish hat. We're gonna fight. We're gonna stand up for ourselves. Leafs are, and it's gonna be a competitive game. Listen, coming in and playing in Florida is not an easy task. They actually played. They were fine last time. I guess they blew a lead. I'm not necessarily calling for a win or a loss. I'm calling for a very competitive game, and the Leafs showing that they are a legitimate playoff team.
All right, Coach.
So back-to-back this weekend, Florida and then Washington. I'm saying we get at least 3 out of 4 points. I think we're going to bounce back. That's an embarrassment. So if you're a professional, you come back hard. Yeah. Campbell's going to play well against Florida tonight, and I think Shalgren will bounce back nicely against Washington Sunday night. I think Muzzin's going to return for one of these games and thankfully bump Lyubushkin, who is showing why he was thrown in that Nick Ritchie deal. I think the bloom may be off the rose there. It's giveaway central for that guy. And I'm going to say Matthews returns this weekend. He gets 59. So I'm not calling either game, but I think we're going to get back on track here.
All right. Yeah, look, I think the Leafs have a short memory. They've shown that even the last couple seasons. I think they respond. I think they're still playing for something. So I think they get the game 3-2 overtime. 88 scores it. There you have it, folks. Hit subscribe. Hit like. Tell all your friends. And we'll see you next time right here on the OZone.